What's up, guys? We're back with the rating climb 1142. Let's play this. Okay, and we've seen this opening quite a bit. I'm going to play knight to f6 again, and it's going to be a question if we see knight g5, what am I going to play? Yeah, here we go. So, Traxler. We have the sort of mainline d5 that I'm more familiar with. We also have this Ponziani-Stein's gambit, which is pretty tricky. What do we want to try? That's the question. Yeah, let's try this one. We'll play this one. I don't remember much of the theory that I looked at. It was a while ago, but let's see what happens. I know one point is that on knight takes f7, which is kind of the most obvious move, you have queen h4 and you get a pretty nice attack going. On this, I think we just play d5, we fork the pieces, and it's a pretty pleasant position for us. I'm pretty sure the best move for white is to actually take it with the bishop. Yeah, I think you take with the bishop and then you play like d4 to defend your knight. It's something weird like that. But this way is fine for us. Queen to f3. So whenever you see queens, or really any pieces, but anything lined up with your queen, you want to make sure you're paying attention. So for example, knight to f6 check is a tactic where I would lose my queen. I have to take it back, and then my queen gets captured. So, how do we deal with that? Probably defending my queen is the simplest thing. So bishop e6 is what I'm thinking. I mean, I can also move the queen away. Right here, counterattacking the queen, I don't believe works because white still is going to play knight here. And when I take, they're going to take my queen and also save their queen at the same time. But you have to be careful. But yeah, I'm thinking bishop e6. There is going to be knight c3, but then we probably just move maybe over here. And we can get ready to castle. That looks pretty good. Just debating if there's any other ways to approach this. Really not a lot of options. I have to move my queen or I have to move my bishop to defend. Yeah, I think let's go ahead and defend. I think that's because it's developing a piece, getting ready to castle, and it's dealing with the threat. So I'm expecting knight to c3 here. And then, okay, castles. All right. Now I'm wondering, do I play knight to d4 to gain a tempo on the queen? How does the queen defend? Because the queen's going to have a lot of things to deal with here. You have to deal with the queen. You have to deal with the potential of losing a rook. And you have to keep an eye on the knight. So the only square that I'm seeing that does all of that is going to d3. But then what happens if I do something like bishop f5, just kind of piling up here? That looks pretty good. I think I am going to play knight to d4. Make sure there's no other crazy moves or tactics, but I don't think so. Looks like a pretty good move. The other thing about queen to d3 is it's awkward for white because they can't get their bishop out. Whenever you can force your opponent to play an awkward move like that kind of blocks their natural development, it's probably a pretty good move in a lot of cases. But even apart from that, I'm more focused on the fact that the queen is going to be, seems to be almost overworked, like just so many things that it has to guard. So if we can exploit that, like I said, I think bishop f5 is going to be the way to do that. Queen d3, bishop f5. I guess white could just defend. That's an option. If you play f3 to defend, though, then bishop c5 lines up on the king. That looks really good. So probably we would see rook to e1. Then I think I would just castle. So do I want to just castle right away, or do I want to play this first is the question. Yeah, there's also knight c3, actually, though, which attacks and defends. That's a pretty good move. So maybe bishop f5. Hold on, knight c3. There's an interesting line here. If I take the knight, I lose my queen. I get the queen back. There's a fork. I move here. I lose a rook. I take this. I'm going to get a rook. So let's see if we can keep track of this because there's a lot happening here. So let's think carefully here. Bishop f5, knight c3. If I take, white takes. I'm up a piece temporarily. I get the queen back. I'm still up a piece. After this, I'm down in exchange. How about my bishop is sitting here? I can take the rook. Also take here and take this rook. So that looks good, actually. So probably what white would have to do is take back. Then I would have time to castle. And that looks pretty good for me. So yeah, I don't think knight c3 actually works. And of course, if... Oh, I guess the knight could take this way. That could be... That is an option, actually. Yeah, let's just go ahead and castle right away. Because if knight c3 happens now, I can move my queen, lining up the rook, and opening up tactical ideas. c3, okay. Interesting move. So yeah, I mean, I guess we just move the knights. I don't have to move the knight. I could play bishop f5 as well. What's the point? If this happens, then I take here with my bishop. I'm also going to win the pawn, and I have this attacking over here. Pretty good. So bishop f5, how does white defend? Maybe rook to e1? Is there any benefit to throwing that in? That's what I'm trying to understand. I'm not really seeing too much. Maybe just the simplest thing, just go back to c6 is fine. Yeah, I'm just not seeing anything really amazing here after bishop f5. Rook e1 just kind of defends everything. I don't really see a great follow-up. All right, let's just go back, I guess. I don't know. We still have a lead in development a little bit. White has to figure out how to get these pieces out. You know, the knights generally don't want to go to the edge of the board. So I think we're okay here. All right, so our opponent decides to not trade the queens. And what I'm thinking of here is a couple things. Number one, chasing this knight away. It's a nice centralized knight. I think I can easily chase it away with a move like f5. I'm also thinking about a move like queen d3. Now, why do I want to play queen d3? Well, like I mentioned, these pieces can't really get developed easily. And that's because this pawn is in the way. As soon as this pawn moves forward, let's just say, then the bishop can come out, then the knight can come out, and all of a sudden white's problems are kind of fixed. Now, they can't play there right away unless they're willing to gambit the pawn. But even that might be better for white. So I'm thinking queen d3 just to shut that down. Once I get that square blockaded, the pawn can never move. So I think queen d3 maybe is a pretty good move. The other idea of f5, maybe the knight moves here. I can just go back. Yeah, I don't like that as much. I think I am going to go for queen to d3. And just try to prevent white from developing these pieces. Okay. And there you go. 1 to 2 mistakes every game. Here's big one. And white, yeah. I mean, white can't even move any pieces as well. So, all right, b4. I think we just go back. All right, we have knight a5 or knight e7. I think I will keep the knight towards the center, so I'll play knight to e7. Okay, obviously, white is trying to play here, which is not a huge deal. I can just move. I don't necessarily have to even deal with that right now. And I think what I might do is think about where this rook can be activated. So maybe just right here on the open file. I can also think about bringing my knight over to the king side. Maybe we can actually attack the king. There's not a lot of pieces over there. We do have the bishop. Knight, bishop, rook. That's a lot of pieces. Yeah, let's actually play knight to g6. Like I mentioned, if we see a5, I'll just move my bishop here. Not a big deal. And I could even think about h5, h4, h3. Because the rook's already sitting here. Might be a good way to attack the king. Okay, now white's taking away my escape square. So I do have to watch out for my bishop getting trapped. So they can't really play a5 at the moment. I'll just take it, but I do want to keep an eye on that. And so maybe what I'll do is play a5. Yes, they can en passant if they want, but once I recapture, I've permanently created a safe square for my bishop. That bishop's no longer going to be at risk for getting trapped. And I will go ahead and just gain some space here, force the bishop back. And now we've kind of solidified whatever was happening over here on the queen side. let's continue with our plan of seeing if we can get this rook into the game and attack the king. I am playing a little quicker. I don't want to, put myself into too much time pressure for no reason. And so let's go ahead. Let's keep going. H3. And now we have some entry points to attack the king once we force probably G3. Okay. Now you can see the bishop can come in like this. I can even think about going here. And if this captures, my rook can come up and in. It also looks very dangerous. I could take this pawn so I can use this square. What's the best way to do it? Yeah, so I think what I'm going to do, guys, is go ahead and try to put my bishop here. Because once we have that, we have a mating net. The king is basically trapped. Let's do that. I'm going to try to put the pawn there. And then it's just a question of how do we get a rook or a knight to assist in delivering the checkmate. That's kind of what I'm thinking. Okay, that looks like a mistake. We can just win a piece. I was trying to go for a little more, but yeah, I guess we'll just take the piece. I don't see it immediately, so it's a pin. That's why we're winning a piece, because we're attacking the bishop, but it can't move away to safety, or we take the rook, and so we'll be taking that next move, most likely. And what I'm envisioning is the bishop going to g2, which totally traps the king, and then my knight jumping in like this for checkmate. Also, a rook coming down could be checkmate as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and trade that. And we'll trade this if white wants. We still have that checkmating idea. All right, so bishop here. Yeah, there we go. Bishop here. Knight here should be checkmate. I don't think... Nope. White didn't stop it. So, all right, let's just briefly analyze the game. And 87-70. Okay, so our opponent did play pretty well. But again, you see those one or two big mistakes, right? We keep talking about that. And that is why these players continue to lose, right? And so eliminating those mistakes from your games is huge. Played the gambits. White did not respond with the best approach. Yeah, the best move is bishop takes, followed by, I believe, d4. Yep, d4. Okay. But after this, we're pretty happy. We get our piece back. We get all of our pieces, can be developed very quickly. We're super happy with that. Okay, bishop e6, no problem there. Knight to d4 was the best move. Castling was pretty good. And, oh, interesting here. The best move was queen c6. Wow, that's a funny move. Allowing the capture because you recapture with a fork and you get your piece back. Interesting. I didn't even think about that. Didn't even cross my mind. All right, but knight c6 is pretty good as well. And then here we go. The reason that white lost the game was that mistake right there, right? And then we saw another one later on in the game as I was attacking right here, not realizing that that was going to cost them another piece. Now, at this point, they were already losing, but, just illustrates, kind of expect to see 1 to 2 big mistakes every game at this rating range. All right, I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Stay sharp, play smart, and take care.